think the honorable thing for our species to do is deny our programming. Stop reproducing. Walk hand in hand into extinction. One last midnight, brothers and sisters opting out of a raw deal.
Do not trust any friends or family members. I repeat, do not trust friends.
As Superman month comes to an end here at Extinction Agenda, I find myself both with time and desire to summarize and take stock of our subject. In particular, time and desire to speak again about Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. But not just that. Some table setting before I do. First, I really like Superman. Anyone listening who would assume otherwise hasn't been listening. Not that it is a contest, because who really cares, but just for context, I've read and enjoyed more Superman comics over the decades than either of the other members of the Extinction Agenda. I've read Otto Binder. I've read a biography of fucking Otto Binder. Jerry Siegel, Cary Bates, Denny O'Neil, John Byrne, Gil Kane, Dan Jurgens, Louise Simonson, Jerry Ordway, Mark Millar, Roger Stern, Jeff Loeb, Joe Kelly, and Mark Waid, and those are just the ones that I can assign names to from memory. I've read both of the Elliot S. Magan novels and enjoyed them very much. I've read all of his comics that he's written for Superman. I've seen nearly all of the movies. I haven't seen Quest for Peace. That looks like hot fucking garbage. And I've watched many of the cartoons. I haven't seen all the cartoons, but I've seen a good number. I've enjoyed them. So, I'm not a fanatic, but I like the idea of the original superhero quite a bit. He is the original hero. He's the Superman. And for, it's like much the same reason I enjoy the Fantastic Four. It's like, it's hokey, it's old school. And All-Star Superman is one of my favorite comics ever. Now, the point of saying this is to emphasize that I have nothing against classical depictions of Big Blue. In fact, I tend to prefer them. Morrison's Good Vibes Sun God is the gold standard and ought to be emulated more than it is. And yet, I positively thrill to Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. So this brings me to the second bit of table setting. And here we're going to get a little esoteric, but what is a film? So a film, children, is light and sound in a dark room. As such, for a film to be good, in my estimation, the lights should be interesting and the sound arresting. Furthermore, neither light nor sound ought to stop, except to offer striking, perhaps meditative pauses in the action to provide contrast or contour to the lights and sounds. These criteria are not exhaustive of what is good, but they are, for me, primary consideration when I'm evaluating a movie. If you got a movie that has lots of good lights, lots of good sounds, lots of stuff, even if it's a fucking dog shit, stupid-ass movie, I'm probably really going to like it. See Con Air, for an example. Now, below that, or as a part of that, since these things too are made of light and sound, they're the actors and their performances, their costumes, their settings, and the plot, and lots of other things, right? The editing. Now, it's always good when interesting lights and sounds and motions are married to a good story and plot. Now, these are the things, taken all together, they make great cinema. But for me, often form is more important than function. And yes, I'm making an ill-considered distinction between form and function in this little speech. Just go with it. Now, with Man of Steel, fine. I'd cut a half hour from the total film. It's way too fucking long. 10 minutes from the beginning of Jor-El punch fighting, 20 minutes from the end of the General Zod fight. I'd just cut it out just for efficiency. And that's just too long to watch a fucking movie. But otherwise, Man of Steel is a good film. Its lights are interesting. Its sounds arresting. Its motion constant. Its performance is strong. In form, it is worthy of the name film. Where things get contentious is when we turn to what I'm calling function. That is, to the movie's story, plot, and tone. Now, my sense is that, in evaluating this film, negative opinions are formed in response to the function of the Man of Steel, to the story that it tells and the way in which its writers and director choose to tell it. It seems to me that people are of the opinion that Superman, and I guess superhero movies generally, are owed something, or owe us something. The feeling is that, without a specific tone, a cartoonish tone of optimism and joviality, a superhero movie, and a Superman movie in particular, fails to perform its primary function. you will believe a man can fly. To this I say, as much as I enjoy Superman, and believe that I know how and what he is as a character, he is not mine. What is done to him and with him is not something I get to control. If I could, I'd immediately halt production on the vast majority of cultural products, and certainly of all Superman material, and literally burn millions and millions of comics, erasing them from existence. I'd do the same with, frankly, much of everything, as I've already said. So without the power to shape function of culture in my own image, I kind of only have two options. I can either be precious about some object of desire, having feelings about when and where products do not conform to the function I believe they should have, or I can judge these objects according to criteria other than my preference. I can look to form and see if something is there to enjoy on its own merits, despite the function of the product. As a formal construction, Man of Steel is by far the most interesting and arresting of the franchise properties sold to us by billionaire corporations intent on monopolizing culture. Another way of saying this is that it is the prettiest of the various poisons. It succeeds in presenting fantastic images, using unusual for the genre points of view, distancing and making alien the action before us, and surrounding the audience in a powerful and bombastic soundscape. It uses editing to bring out character, and employs in its script a series of flashbacks that fill in gaps without ever sacrificing the forward momentum of the events depicted. The actors, even Henry Cavill and Amy Adams, who are much maligned, I gather, fill the screen and give gravitas to their actions. So I'll cite some examples of what I mean. Like, what is this lights and sound thing I'm talking about? So the first is at 28 minutes and 43 seconds, when Pete Ross's mom is talking to Martha and Jonathan Kent about Clark's strange providential abilities. Clark, up until that point, is outside on the swing. Jonathan looks out and the boy is gone. We then go quickly in a series of aspect-to-aspect shots from window view, coffee pot returned, to doorknob turned, to shutter slammed. And then they're talking, man and son. It happens quick. The glue is there between the scenes. And here, in this small moment, the editing of light and sound conveys emotion and connection between father and son elegantly and simply. You don't even notice it's happening, and so you disregard it. But look at it. Admittedly, this is a small thing. There's numerous examples of this judicious editing throughout the movie. Let's listen to something more playful at the 1 hour and 27 to 1 hour and 26 to 1 hour and 27 and 35 mark, where Superman has exited Zod's ship, saved by Lois Lane and by the Lois Lane and Jor-El team up, which I think is actually a lot of fun. You never get to see Jor-El team up with Lois Lane. This movie is like, hey, what a great idea. Let's just mix it up. Anyway. He's floating back into space, Christ-like. Yeah, there's some Christ imagery in this movie, but like it pales in comparison to the Christ imagery that you see in Superman Returns, which is masochistic and weird. This movie, like he's 33, he's been on Earth for a little while. It's a light touch of a tired theme, all right. But so anyway, he chases after her like a meteorite, pulling off a last-minute rescue just before Lois's escape capsule hits the ground in flames. And then, just at that moment, lest the movie be accused of slacking off, we playfully transition to a dog barking at the arrival of Zod. Indeed, sound is where this movie exceeds all other contenders. Take Zod's broadcast to Earth, when he informs the world that they're not alone. What other of these franchise intellectual property movies has anything like this? Or the Michael Bay-esque Calamity, the horrific 9/11 soundscape that introduces the world engine's destructive power.
Initiate.
What have they hit us with?
Play for me anything in these movies that compares. And yes, I say these movies, like they're beneath contempt. Which, yeah, kind of brings us to the time when I got to talk about my own biases, after I've pointed out some of others. Now, to my eyes, superhero movies, and other movies too, but we're talking about Superman, so I'll focus on superhero movies. Superhero movies are objects of function. They are not objects of form. People don't go to these movies to see form. They want to show up for the fucking stupid-ass plot. The Avengers, for instance, is designed to go down easy. It focuses on plot and character above all, particularly at the expense of light, sound, and kineticism. I call these things entertainments. Movies that focus on function are entertainments. They seek to draw you away from the world and its hard edges. My bias is against entertainments. Entertainments are, for me, TV and low character. The choice to waste one's life and energies. They are couches and slovenly living. I've felt this way since I was a teenager, and I feel that way today. I always will. To my defense, the bias has served me well. It contributes, I feel anyway, to my ability to accomplish my goals. But it's nonetheless a bias, and I have to take account for it. So, which brings me to James Gunn. The new Superman movie is, first and foremost, an entertainment. It takes the figure of Superman and presents him as a goofy young adult, optimistic and hopeful, having troubles with his girlfriend and frustrations with his powers. He's uninspiring. Indeed, the movie first positions the character with an ideology that prizes intervention based on Enlightenment-derived universal human rights, and then reveals the dark colonial underpinnings of those Enlightenment principles. In the end, Superman is made to affirm the bonds of his Earthbound family instead, rather than his Krypton family, Jor-El. Those people are revealed to be assholes. He bonds with his soft, weeping father, absent of intelligence, and his TV news-watching mother. They become the center of his world, as he himself abdicates all politics. I put on my boots, one boot at a time, just like everyone else, and I'm gonna do the best I can. Now, yes, there is the veiled Israeli genocide plotline. But that's presented as a series of roughly 100 extras in a valley running from troops. There is no blood. There is no starvation. There's nothing that would offend an audience or get in the way of the bottom line. There's just enough to activate the conservatives, to accusations of wokeism and piss people off enough that they're going to go to the theater and it becomes a subject of conversation. Now, Man of Steel is not better in this regard, but it does not shy away from violence and destruction. It is a war movie. It is an alien invasion war movie. Much of the enjoyment of this movie, I'd say the enjoyment of the action, it's documentary style action. It's Battlestar Galactica infused depictions of flight and motion and aerial combat. Um, Much of the pleasures, it's like a King Kong movie, watching these creatures of power just smashing airplanes. Um, but anyway, it's an alien invasion movie, and for this reason, it features the American military, presenting them in a positive light. Fine, whatever. It's again, we'll get back to Michael Bay and Roland. Not I made the comparison of Roland Emmerich. It's not Roland Emmerich has comedy, and Michael Bay has comedy. This movie has no comedy. There's some humorous lines here and there, but generally speaking, it is I think a war movie. And the one problem that people might have with this is that the U.S. military-industrial complex in Man of Steel is presented as honorable. A good death is its own reward, right? Indeed, Superman is christened as Superman by the troops themselves after they realize he's not their enemy. This happens at the 1 hour and 45-minute mark, roughly. We see planes and missiles and destruction, honorable soldiers, massive property damage. Look at the buildings in a war zone. It isn't pretty. And as utterly bloodless as Man of Steel is, the destruction it presents through light and sound and motion is as ugly as the world is ugly. Perhaps I've just been reading about World War II too much right now. Anyway, I could go on about this movie, but I'm going to stop myself short. I feel that I've said some of the things that I wished that I had said the other evening. And it really could go on. But I'll close with saying this one final thing about Man of Steel. Look at the movie that you're watching. Listen to it. Don't look at the name of the director. Forget that Sucker Punch ever happened to you. God, I wish I could. Forget Justice League. Similarly. Forget what you think you know about the character of Superman and what a proper Superman movie ought to be. Forget about all those other movies. And just look and listen to what is on the screen. You might find yourself thinking a little better of this one. Thanks.
Go check it out. Go check it out. Go check it out.